Okay, welcome everybody to Chassidus in the morning, 15 minutes, change your life. Heichaltzu, a new maamer from the Rebbe Rashab. It's a special maamer. Maamer is a very, very famous maamer. It was basically written up instead of the Rashab about an Indian of Ahavas Yisroel. The story goes that in here they don't really put. I didn't see the story in the overview or the beginning. But from what I've heard, the story goes that those Chassidim had a Fabringen, and there was a guy walking around the Fabringen looking for a clean cup, and he refused to drink from someone else's cup. That was a cup very used. Yeah. My name is Rabbi Weiss. I'm a co-director of Living Chassidus with my wife. We try to help single girls that live in Kuntres Heights to be the best they can be, help them with shidduchim, help them with the community, and learning Chassidus in a livable way. That's who I am. So the story goes that the Chassid couldn't find a clean cup, and you can imagine in those days it wasn't like nowadays just get another plastic cup, and he just wouldn't drink. And so the way I heard, the Rashab wrote this, and B'chal, the Rebbe would give this out because this whole maamer is about Ahavas Yisroel. The Rebbe would give it out on different occasions, and the Rebbe would say, when he would give it out, he'd say, "Atzlacha b'limud." You should be successful in your learning. Meaning, the Rebbe didn't give it out just stam. He wanted it, and he gave it to people who had struggles with Ahavas Yisroel. Yeah, and this is the maamer. It's a long Rashab. It's very like clear. We'll go through the process, and you learn. And the important thing when you learn this is sometimes you're listening. He'll say things, and you say to yourself, "It's nothing going to do with me." So we got to learn how to figure out how it has got to do with you. Meaning, maybe you don't have the specific issue he's referring to, but what does that mean, and how does that apply to me, and how do I have that within myself? Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, we'll start. Just a quick story before we start. That there was a chassid once came, I think, to Tzemach Tzedek, and he said that everyone in shul is stepping on me. You know, everything he was doing, I guess people were commenting and making things, and and it was hard on him. So he came to complain to the Tzemach Tzedek. So Tzemach Tzedek, he said to him basically, he goes, "What do you want? That you're lying yourself all over the floor." And basically, what he meant was, you're putting yourself out there to get trampled on. You're making yourself in the situation. You got to not think about it. You got to relax. You should do your thing. So when we learn this, we'll learn how essentially and what's really connected to our times, this maamer, because the main sort of part of the maamer is that to have unity and to have friendship and to have connection, it doesn't need to be that we agree. And I think this is very much connected to our time period with the politics in America and people's opinions about different things, and also, unfortunately, people's opinion about Israel. But the lesson the maamer is trying to teach us is you don't need to have the same opinion. We have to learn how to coexist. And really, that's true unity, and that can bring a deeper connection. So if someone disagrees with me, then they're wrong and I'm right, and then I can't speak to you. It's the ability to have the political discourse, to be able to discuss things in a good way, and bring us to a deeper unity. And that's essentially what we're talking about. But we'll start off the maamer, so I'll ask a few questions, as Chassidus does, about midyan. The midyan is the klippa of sinas chinam. Page 2 in this sefer, whoever has it, whoever doesn't, it can go get it, or we can organize. Okay, page 2. So I'll read in English, because I think it just goes easier for everyone. Heichaltzu, like many Chassidic maamerim, begin by referring to an episode in the Chumash, posing several questions concerning the narrative. Following the well-known axiom, the Torah describes the supernal realms and alludes to this lowly earthly plane. So the Torah is talking about physical things, but it's referring to spiritual things. The maamer understands and explains the narrative as reflecting lofty spiritual concepts, which were ultimately manifest in the events that occurred on the material plane. So what happened physically was an outgrowth of what happened spiritually. And that's b'chal in everything in Torah. And when you read something, it's talking about higher things, but it's really referring to this physical world. However, in the interim, the maamer spends a large amount of time explaining the spiritual concepts, and only after they are thoroughly clarified does the maamer return to resolve the question that it initially posed regarding the biblical narrative. So we're going to discuss the questions of the maamer, of the story about Midian. Then we're going to go to the whole discussion of Ahavas Yisroel, and then in the end, we'll answer these questions. The narrative here begins with Hashem's charge to Moshe to wage war against Midian. Together with the Moabites, the Midianites had sent their daughters to seduce Jewish men and motivate them to serve false divinity. As a result, God brought a plague upon the Jewish people. So what happens? So it's in the Torah. We're going to come up to it very soon. That the Midian, that Bilam tries to get, Balak tries to get Bilam to curse the Jewish people, and he's not able to, and Hashem just keeps on blessing us. And then he says, as he gives up, he's like, listen, by the way, Hashem hates it when they do idol worship and they're promiscuous. Just send your daughters, and that's what he does. And Midian and Moab, they could do this, and it causes destruction to Jewish people. It's a big issue, and Hashem has a whole plague on the Jewish people, have to get saved, and the whole story of Pinchas, Ben Elazar, Ben Aaron, that he is one who takes care of the situation. And then Hashem tells Moshe that he has to go and wage war with Midian. And that's sort of the backdrop of the story. So what happens? Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, exact retribution of the children of Israel from the Midianites. Hashem says to Moshe, you should take vengeance on Midian for the Jewish people. And it's very meduric what we're saying here, from the Jewish people. Afterwards, you should be gathered to your people. And then Hashem says you should be gathered to the Jewish people, meaning you should pass away. Because when it says gather to your people, the biblical euphemism is for death. So in response to Hashem's command, Moshe spoke to the Jewish people and he says, arm men for the army from amongst yourselves, meaning let's get an army together, so that they may go against Midian, to exact the retribution of Hashem for Midian. So Moshe says, Hashem says to Moshe, the exact retribution of the Jewish people. Moshe says to the Yidden, to exact retribution of Hashem. 1,000 per tribe for all the tribes of Israel. So 1,000 per tribe, which means it'd be 12 tribes, 12,000 men should go to wage war. But we see something very interesting. And that's what we're going to explain. It's necessary to understand the relationship between the war against Midian and the pasuk of Moshe. But why does the above verse indicate that the two are interdependent? So Hashem says that you should exact the retribution of children of Israel. Afterwards, you should be gathered to your people. Meaning, which shows that they're connected. Why what's the connection between Midian, waging war with Midian, and Moshe? That only after he wages the war, then he can pass away. And he's sort of like finished his job. So that only after Moshe's retribution from the Midianites will he be gathered to his people. Two inferences can be drawn from this verse. First, the war of Midian had to be waged specifically by Moshe. That's the first thing we're seeing here. And therefore, although his death had already been decreed, but Hashem is already saying he was going to die, but it says previously in Parshas Pinchas, as it talks about in Parshas Pinchas, go up to Mount Avarim and be gathered as Aaron your brother was gathered. So Hashem already told Moshe he's going to pass away. He was nevertheless given time to first wage war against Midian. Even though he's meant to pass away, Hashem is holding off, he's passing away in order that he can fight against Midian. So we're seeing here that it has to be Moshe, and what's connected, and it's connected with his passing, and also why does he have to do with Midian? Page 4. This war was not delayed until after Moshe's passing, as were the other wars that Yeshua would wage in the future. This wasn't like the other wars that Yeshua did when after Moshe passed away. This implies the war against Midian had to be conducted by Moshe personally. So we're seeing that it's Moshe Dafka. Specifically Moshe's to wage war. That like you'd think, what's so important about it? Why? It was he who had to muster the men for the army and so on. Moshe had to get the people, the 12,000 men, and go get the war and destroy Midian. The brackets in short is basically saying you might argue and say it just simply because Moshe did all these things outside of Canaan, and Yeshua does everything inside Canaan. But we see from the pasuk it implies it's not just a simplistic thing, but a specific thing that it's Dafka Moshe has to do it. So what's going on here? Why does it have to do Moshe? Moreover, the same verse, page 5, the same verse seems to imply that the root of Moshe's soul would attain perfection as a result of this war. Because since Hashem connected Moshe's passing with the war against Midian, the implication is that one was dependent on the other. by waging the war against Midian, Moshe would complete the divine service in this world and be prepared to be passing away. So the implication is, Hashem is saying to Moshe, fight this war of Midian. It happens to be, it seems like what we're saying is that if once you do that, you're done, you're good. You've done everything you need to do. You finish your mission in this world, and you can go home, so to speak. But so why? What's so special about Midian that Moshe has to do this? So it is known, hence the Torah states that after he exacts retribution from Midian, he'll be gathered to his people. That after he finishes that war, he's completed, and then he can pass away. It is known that the passing of a tzaddik represents his attainment of the highest possible levels of elevation. When a tzaddik passes away, it means he's reached his highest levels, which is reached after his work in this world is completed, upon finishing the task ordained for him by the divine wisdom. So the tzaddik soul rises to the ultimate spiritual heights at the moment of his passing. On this basis, it is possible to understand the implication of the verse, exact retribution of the children of Israel from the Midianites. Afterwards, you should be gathered. Now we understand why, because we're saying the tzaddik reached the highest level. So this is sort of the last bit of him reaching the highest level. So through this war, the perfection of the roots of Moshe's soul, through his service, throughout his lifetime will be reached. And this is sort of like the ultimate, the last cherry on top, is waging this war with Midian, enabling him to rise from one spiritual level to another in the heavenly realms above. So all this then must be understood. But so that's what's happening. We see the reality. What he's showing us, the Rashab, is this is the reality that we see here very clearly. If you analyze the Psukim, then Moshe is very connected with having to do this war of Midian. Doing this war with the Midian is going to make him reach the ultimate level. And how? So all this then must be understood. A, why did the war have to be waged specifically by Moshe? Why is this connected with Moshe? And B, why would his soul attain perfection through this war? Through this. So what is it about this war with Midian that Moshe needs that's going to perfect him? Why does it have to be through Moshe? And what is perfecting Moshe through this Midian war? So why? It seems like, not the Moshe we know about normally. The Kitzur. Summary. The war against Midian is connected with Moshe and his passing. That's essential. That's the Kitzur. And he adds here. This chapter introduces Hashem's command to Moshe to take the revenge against Midian. The Rashab poses questions that require us to dig deeper in order to understand the inner meaning and spiritual significance of the conflict against Midian. Why Moshe had to lead the war against them and its relevance to our lives. These questions and those raised in chapter 2 are the gateway through which we will begin to explore the concept which lies in the heart of this maamer. So essentially, just to finish it off, so we're asking, what's the story with Moshe having to wage war with Midian, and it's connected to Moshe's life, and I guess something to think about, like to make this a little bit more practical, is that we got to realize that we're here and we have a mission and we have things we need to do. Moshe was lucky enough to have it very clearly told to him, but we not necessarily have that. So the lesson that we have to realize, we have to think about ourselves, and today it's a perfect day to go. And you walk around, you have to say to yourself, I'm here with purpose and meaning, and I have something I have to give. And am I giving? And it could be having a smile on your face. I was at a Rebbe last week, and the Rebbe was saying that why should everyone suffer? Because you're in a bad mood. Meaning we should realize that what we do affects the surroundings. If I walk around and I smile at people, I say hello, open the door for someone, hold the door open, help people out, do these little things, and have this consciousness when I'm walking around that I'm doing something, I'm giving something. And this is what happened and this is sort of we see with Moshe, that he had a mission in life. He had things that to complete before he could finish. And we also have these things. So to be continued tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining. If you have any questions, 1 second, I'll stop the recording.